Hey folks, Legal Amigo here. Welcome to part 3 and the final installment of Did Al Gore suppress voter turnout in the 2000 New Hampshire primary against Bill Bradley? This is Vice President Al Gore from around that time. This is President Clinton from around that time, the president he served under. And this is a photo of Vice President Al Gore and Senator Bradley. Senator Bradley was a senator from New Jersey and played in the NBA for the New York Knicks. I had been a White House intern and volunteered for different campaigns. This is me with President Bill Clinton from around that time. Another photo of us, how cute. I got a research grant to study presidential politics, so I found myself in New Hampshire, happened to find a friend there, and was there for a few days and volunteered with the campaign. That friend worked very closely with the campaign, so we were in the motorcade and in very intimate settings with a lot of the senior folk, including Bob Shrum, who I mentioned in my first video, who was in a senior position as a political advisor and also worked for the John Kerry campaign. I mentioned Senator John Kerry in my first video, but also including this man, Chris Lehane. Chris Lehane was Al Gore's press secretary. I rode in the motorcade with Chris Lehane. I remember him on a phone call with a reporter, and I think it was the night of the primary vote, but it could have been another time. And I'm not sure if I rode with him multiple times or just once. I mean, this was like 25 years ago, but I definitely rode with him. I remember him on a phone call calling Bill Bradley Dirty Dollar Bill for some reason. I'm not sure what. And because I guess Bill Bradley's nickname was Dollar Bill, like earlier in life as a basketball player, and he called him Dirty Dollar Bill. I don't know why. Anyway, this gentleman, nothing against him at all. He seemed like a nice enough fellow. He works for OpenAI. I guess he helps with communications for them or something like that. And he's an executive for OpenAI. But he was in the motorcade, and I was there with him, and I was also there with a foreign policy advisor who knew one of my professors at college. So we kind of had a rapport. We kind of hit it off and had a connection. And so we're in the motorcade the night of the election. And, you know, one of my, I guess, favorite things about being in the motorcade was we could go fast, or at least I thought, hey, it's cool because we can go fast. So we're moving along at, I don't know, a normal speed. All of a sudden we come to like a stop, like a crawl. And I turned to the foreign policy advisor I had hit it off with, and I said, hey, I thought the whole point, I was kind of making a joke, but I said, I thought the whole point of being in a motorcade is you can go as fast as you want. You don't have to sit in traffic. And he kind of looked at me and he's like, well, if you're in a pro Bill Bradley district on the night of the election, you know, subtext, when people are trying to vote, it's not such a bad idea. He said something like that. Like, it's not so bad. It's not such a bad idea. Chris Lehane's on the phone next to him, kind of turns and like he hears it. He's always talking to reporters. He was talking I don't know who he was talking to actually, but I think there were times he was talking to reporters. And he's kind of like telling him not to tell me this stuff. Well, fast forward to today, and I did a video on it, and actually, truth be told, when I did part 1 of the video, I didn't know about this article. You can look this article up. It's in Slate. It's slate.com. That time Al Gore blocked traffic to win an election. And this came from Bob Shrum, that political advisor I mentioned, like in his memoir. I didn't know about this until today. And I'm glad I found it because I used to tell friends this story, but I never had evidence to back it up other than my own firsthand experience. But yeah, it goes through it and talks about how Bob Shrum, you know, shared this story that had been a secret story, and that they saw Bill Bradley was going to win. And then one of Gore's advisors came up with a plan to stop traffic in pro-Bradley area. Here's a little more about it. You can read about it, but it kind of matches up with what I'm saying, right? Check it out. Now, this part I have no idea about. It says that Al Gore was irate and called this operative and said, hey, what's going on? But if you look at the end of the bottom of the article, it's unclear whether they stopped trying to stop traffic. It looks like they just kept on doing it, like Gore kept on doing it. And he certainly never mention anything about it. I guess he would have been in a tough spot. I don't know if Al Gore knew about it or not, right? You have to use your own judgment, and we have to think about, would the vice president have been told? Either way, it's interesting, right? If the vice president of the United States is not told about something like this, that's pretty bad, right? That people might do stuff like this without the knowledge of the candidate, right? And then you got to ask, like, does that happen in other campaigns? Does this happen all the time? And then if the vice president knew about it, that's pretty bad too, right? And then what I have found out, I guess, over the years is that this stuff is just super common. This happens a lot in politics, and it's just something we have to be aware of. But I also found another article that says that Bill Clinton did the same thing in New Hampshire during that primary. Check it out on Daily Kos, or Daily Kos, or however you pronounce it. Bill Clinton, president at the time, did the same thing. If one principal doesn't know about it, that's one thing. If two principals don't know about it, that's another. It's really important to understand that this happens all the time in politics. I have a very close friend who's been in city politics for a long time in San Francisco who told me they dump ballots all the time. We just have to know about this. It's just important for us to be aware of it, to inform our decisions, to think 2 or 3 times about a news article we read about politics. This is how it actually works. It doesn't mean we can't overcome it. In fact, the first piece of solving a problem is understanding what you're up against. So I wanted to share what we're up against. Please let me know in the comments what you think. Let me know if you have ideas for how to reform any of this. But I think the number one thing is to speak out about it, and that's what we're doing here. Thanks for listening. Appreciate it.